Hey everyone, welcome to New Comic Book Day Book Club. My name's Alec. This is White Whale Comics. I'm here with John. What's up, man?
Hey, and I'm just super pumped. Miss Hustle followed us over, so I'm getting to hang out with her twice in one night. Miss Hustle, it is a nice flashback to see you here. We were talking about you in the offline and what an awesome gal you are. And we remembered how you shouted out this show, this program Alec and I've been doing for, it's almost been 2 years now.
Yeah.
And you were one of the earliest people to like promote us on Instagram and get people to come here. So it's just nice to see you in the chat again.
Without asking for anything, so like we didn't ask for anything and you didn't ask for anything.
No, yeah, she did it
just
on
be an awesome community member.
Awesome, yeah, community heart.
Speaking of the great community, we have 1-2 Comic Talk, Todd Christian, who are here in the before times, as I like to call them. I don't like tailgate anymore. I like before times.
In the days of yore.
Chaos and Comics says, what are we talking about today? Porno comics? I wish. They have plots too.
I was going to say, you're still getting Faithless, right?
Yeah, absolutely. That's a sci-fi demon book. Miss Hustle, as we just said, hi, welcome. Gore Vidal, always nice to see you. Comic Man Andy, get out of here. NC Slapjacks, nice to see you. Gray Matter Hulk, 2 years, yeah. Can you believe it? Comics List Explained, and TJ the Slab Dragon Watson.
Hey, Comic Tom.
And Comic Tom, thanks for joining us, man. Got all the hits. Miss Hustle said, I'm slowly trying to get back to the community, watching all of you guys. That's great to hear. Nice to have you back.
Definitely.
So thanks for everyone for joining us. We got a couple of doozies for you this week.
One that we're going to dive in right off the bat.
Yeah. The first one we're going to talk about is Unkindness of Ravens from Boom Studios.
Sorry, got the glare on that one. Honestly, if I was going to say, this is cover of the week.
Cover of the week, if not cover of the
I love
recent time.
The harsh black lines. There's the actual title on the back there. Boom Studios, issue number 1 from Dan Panosian.
Ruben Guzman as well. Nice for you joining us. Yeah, I was pretty excited about this because Boom's been doing a lot of great stuff recently. The cover, this is the B cover, but it's like John said, it's a gorgeous cover.
I love the cover as a virgin variant that Boom is doing too. So yeah.
Yeah, it's about like occult witchy stuff, which is cool, up my alley.
Oh, we've done a few of those, and I mean, we've done Faithless, which has some of that. We've done Hex Wives. We've done a few in our time.
Yeah, probably all because of my recommendation. I have to say this. I get this reputation of like being the negative guy, of saying like, oh, Alec doesn't like anything.
Oh, come on.
I promise I want to like stuff. Like, I'm not just being a dick to be a dick. I'm not being overly critical because like it's my brand or anything. Like, I want to read comics that I like, and I go into every comic wanting to like it. Like, I never go into a comic being like, wow, this is gonna suck. But woof, this book is
no bueno.
No bueno, man. It was just, oh, okay. Where do we start?
Yeah, so Ruben, this is the B cover. There was an A, and then there's the C cover is the Frizen cover.
Yeah, which was a ratio variant.
I don't know how to say her name. But.
Which was a ratio variant.
Yeah. I saw all three at the shop there, but something about the hard black edge lines, and I just really dug it. So, but yeah, okay. So you want to give it a grade first? You want to talk first? What do you think?
I don't know, 2.5.
I was definitely going to give it more than that. I was thinking in the 5.
Oh, that's generous.
Because and yes, I will agree. Like it is a poorly written book. It doesn't really go anywhere. Everything is stereotypes. There's not a lot of like depth given to anything. There's a lot of exposition talk that's unneeded, and the story doesn't advance anywhere.
Yeah, stereotypes to the point of it feeling satirical.
Right. Yeah.
Like it's almost like a tongue-in-cheek, like, huh? This is this group in the high school, get it?
I saw the trailer for Heathers. I think I know what that movie's about.
Yeah. But it wasn't funny at all. And so it starts off with this like kind of I don't know, block text story about witches in Salem, And the first line that really made me raise my eyebrow and say, is this book going to suck? It says, centuries ago, men and women uncovered a few of their little compatriots practicing the dark arts. Perhaps you've heard of the witch trials. They're quite popular. I'm like,
I can picture Alec be like, did this book just start sucking?
Did
you just start sucking?
And then, so that finishes up, and then it cuts to a starkly different art style, which is fine. Like, I don't, whatever. But here is where it really started going downhill for me. The first two panels are this girl looking at this missing poster of a girl who looks like her. It then, after two panels, flashes back. Not to like what happened to the girl, but to 10 minutes before that where the dad is driving her to school.
Yeah.
We like there's
Blaine says, is this book gonna suck? Trademark.
Yeah. Why do we need those two panels?
Yeah, you know, it reminds me of like Christopher Nolan movies where it's like, you know, he's gonna skip around in time just because that's his shtick. And it's like he always will do that. And maybe he's just really, really good at it, but it makes you feel like a mediocre filmmaker would think, yeah, I could just throw in a little cut in time here and do it. And that's what these guys are doing. Like, hey, we could just skip around in time a little bit. Just
but if they did that throughout the book, I would have gone back and said, like, okay, I get what they're doing. But it was just like one of those, here's the interesting thing we want to get you interested in the book with, but that's not for another 2 pages. So yeah, we have to put it up front. Right. And then the next page is these panels of her dad with the pills, and it says, it's talking about how he was in a car accident with this girl's mom and her sister, and the mom and sister died, and the dad survived, but got like hurt. And it says, it's been pretty tough on my dad. Honestly, really tough on him. And like it zooms in on the pills. Like, we get it, dude. We get it. So then she starts talking about how it's nice to be unnoticed in a new school, because that's when she's in a new school. Then then it cuts back to where she's looking at this poster. And you find out this girl disappeared. She then is assigned this same girl's locker. And when she opens the locker, there's like glowing witch writing in it that the boy she's talking to can't see. And then this is honestly the thing that bothered me the most about it, is what happens in this next page. And this happens a ton of times where they're talking. This girl and this boy she just met at school. They're talking about the things in the locker. Then it cuts to the next page, and he says, "Looks like Scarlett Danforth already has her eyes on you." And it's a big shot of the kid's face, not who Scarlett is or where she's approaching. And it's like, it feels totally non sequitur, but it's supposed to be a continuation of the conversation. I don't know if he's trying to make it like natural flowing, like conversation where, you know, kids just kind of ADD get distracted. But like, what is this panel of this kid? Like, why is that the panel? And they do that a ton of times where it's just like,
I just assumed he was talking about himself in the third person and that he was Scarlett.
But they
like Scarlett's got her eyes on you.
When they're at lunch, the like popular girls come and talk to her, and then all of a sudden they're just walking away in the middle of a conversation. And then the witchy girls come up and talk to her, and they like, all of it like just doesn't quite connect.
No.
And then the big reveal at the end is that, oh, the witchy girls are witches. Yeah, we got it. We knew that from the beginning.
Way.
So big thumbs down from me.
It wasn't a villain reveal; it was an eyeball reveal.
Yeah.
I was just gonna let you go for a while. I mean, you were on it there.
I got worn out from I don't need to go through every panel and explain why everything is wrong.
I do agree. Like the writing is really cliched and really all over the place. And I mean, I could see it becoming something maybe, but I mean, I don't care. You know,
No.
I feel like at issue 1, you gotta hit the ground running a little bit, and this does not. So is it like Sabrina or Riverdale? In that they've copied tropes from all of that stuff, yes.
But
they have no understanding of what makes those things good, no.
It's like Sabrina or Riverdale insofar as it's like if someone explained Riverdale to someone, yeah, but like the person who saw Riverdale never actually watched it, but they're like trying to explain what they
for Heathers, and they tried to make Heathers, but they didn't know what they were doing.
It's like if they tried to explain what Sabrina is to someone without having actually watched Sabrina, like they just saw a picture of it on the Netflix queue and they're like, oh, it's about like this high school where this girl's a witch. And
how about this? I mean, so for me, like the biggest issue, my biggest problem was they have not defined what their book is, and they've finished issue 1. And I should know what this book is. I don't know how graphic this book is going to become. I don't know how dark this book is going to become. I feel like I've gotten the smallest snippet. They took forever to do it, and they have not defined what future issues of this comic might look like.
Yeah.
And that's kind of your goal, is to make me feel like I want more of this instead of make me feel like, what is this?
Yeah. One of my really big problems is, why do I care if this girl's a witch or not?
Yeah, Gordon, the writing is fundamentally flawed on many levels.
She does not seem to care.
No. I went cow tipping after watching Heathers. I don't understand the good or bad of that sentence. Like, are you trying to tell us how sad that is or how awesome that is? You could go either way.
I feel like if they had like moved it into if they really leaned into the satirical and made it kind of like self-referential and tongue-in-cheek, it could have been good. Or if they had toned it down and made it a little darker and actually like took the time to flesh out characters and not make them paper cutouts of what high school kids are.
Well, and that again is what I'm saying is I don't know what this comic is going to be. I don't know if I'm going to pick up the next issue and get unfaithful, or say faithless, faithless, or if I'm going to pick up the next issue and get Sabrina. Like, I don't know what this book is, and I don't feel like they know. And they had that whole beginning clip section where they were kind of hinting at, you know, the real witches and but they don't ever really get to it. I feel like it's not a part of this book, and it's like a lot of wasted space.
And also, like, I hate to be this guy, but I am this guy, so I'm just going to be it anyway. When you're at a point in history where you know why the Salem witch trials took place, why people thought witches were witches, like we have pretty definitive proof as to why it all happened, that like you can't use that as a point of reference to say, no, like witches were real back then. Like you can say, sure, witches were real, just don't reference something where we know what the explanation for why people thought people were witches are.
Right. Clearly not people not reading enough Arthur Miller.
So
Harry, good evening, man. Did we say hello to some people? Gore Vidal.
Yeah, I said hi to Gore Vidal, but let me go through again. Perry, what's up, buddy? Congratulations on 10K. Huge. Who else popped in here?
Gray Matter Hulk, right?
Gray Matter Hulk. I said hi to Gray Matter Hulk. New guy.
Ryan. That's Ryan. Thanks for coming by, Ryan.
Bear Island. I don't know if I said hi to you, but hello.
And Bearded Comic Bro just jumped in. How many books have John and WW? We just have been talking about this book, Boom Studios #1, The Unkindness of Ravens, and we have been very unkind. But I would argue that they were not very kind in making us pay for this.
No.
You could go
I mean,
either
the
way.
cover is cool. It's going to look nice in a bag and board that I never have to open again and read it.
Yeah, I mean, it is. Yeah, it is cover of the week for me, at least. A beauty. I love this cover B, but that's about that cost me $4. That cover.
Gore Vidal, if you want to come on and do a Rachel Rising episode with us, by all means, I would be more than glad to do that.
But this is obviously a nice moment for you and I, where we don't have to like vamp for another 30 minutes on this issue. We can move on and just be done with it.
Yeah, and I think that's a good idea because I feel badly because I know people like work hard on these books that I shit on. And
yeah, I mean, I don't want to diminish the amount of work that they put into it, but I just feel like not enough maybe thought went into moment by moment this story. And I certainly didn't feel like it was a book that I'm going to put anywhere near my pull list.
And again, like, because Boom has been doing so much really cool stuff, I guess like I had higher hopes for it, and it just let me down.
But I would say, like, I guess if we're on Boom season 3 now, like season 2 was amazing, and I'm not loving season 3 as of yet. As far as the new titles that they've been dropping, I've only had a couple that I felt like were even potentials for the pull list.
Yeah,
but season 2 was so good, it was like everything went on the pull list. Hello, AM.
Hey, thank you. He said, new here and enjoying it. Well, thank you very much.
Thanks, man.
If you came for negativity, you came to the right show. I honestly, like, I really don't think of myself as being negative. I think of myself as just being critical and a realist. Like, if you want my money, you have to do something that's worthwhile. That's all. And I know that makes me a jerk, but
no, I don't think that's at least that's not what the 9 people in the chat are going to be saying, hopefully.
Oh, we got 13.
Woo!
Huge numbers. All right, so let's move on to the only other book I picked up this week. Ten of Swords. This is a big boy.
In price and in sheer volume weight.
Yeah, I was shocked at the price. It was $6.99, which is like half a trade, but more shocked because it's big. So like you're getting content for the price, but right on the cover, in no uncertain terms, it says part 1 of 22. So that is, I know not all the issues are going to be $7, but that is an investment to keep up with this.
Yeah. So, for those that didn't take the time to read my blog, there are 3 issues that are going to be this larger size format. Creation, Stasis, and Destruction, I think, is the final one. So it's sort of like the bread at the either end of the sandwich, and then a piece in the middle, and then the rest.
So it's like a Big Mac.
There you go. And then the rest is going to be your average X titles, depending on which ones you're reading. I know that a couple issues of Hellions, 3 issues of X-Men, 2 issues of Marauders, couple issues of X-Force, couple issues of X-Factor, Wolverine.
Yeah, it's in the back here.
So they list the first 11, I think, in the back. Yeah. But I have a breakdown on the blog. If you want to check out the blog of X, I broke them all down. So you know how many of certain so for me, I think I was already going to get half of these issues anyways, because I'm getting X-Men, I'm getting X-Force, I'm getting Marauders, and I was going to buy these 3. So at this point, it was just a matter of, do I want to stretch a little and get some of those Hellions, X-Factor books that maybe are not on my pull list. New Mutants, I think, is one. Yeah.
Cable.
And his big sword.
Yeah. Drawn very young in this book.
Yeah, so those that don't know, the old Cable, he gone, and we got young Cable. Young Cable is the one that is in the current storyline. The old Cable is dead, and so it's Kid Cable or whatever you want to call him. And I hear from some friends who are into more indie books and don't read a lot of X-Men. they're loving the current Cable run. They said is really good. It's only 3 issues in. Andy says he dropped Cable, so hey, and Gray Matter says Cable's been good. So there you go, a little bit of everything.
And yeah, hot spec, which we've known for a little while, is first appearance of Sword is in Astonishing X-Men number 8, something. The cover with Colossus and Kitty Pryde on it.
So for me, I'm gonna start off and say that I really enjoyed this, and I even sent Alec a message. I'm like, I'm clearly the audience for this. I'm predisposed to probably like this. I'm loving the Dawn of X in general, and I'm only reading about half of it because there are titles that I'm just not going to be able to afford. So I'm sticking to the ones I'm really enjoying. I loved House of X and Powers of 10. And I was just primed for this. I feel like you do get a little bit of the classic Hickman graphics, but I think overall it's a ton of art and a ton of story in this $6.99 book. I was very okay with the price in the end, and I thought it was a very good book. I'm tempted to give it a 9 out of 10.
Wow,
I'm somewhere in that range, 8.5 or 9.
Really quickly, I want to address AM Rod said. Which Batman books would you recommend to a reader? I was going to say Long Halloween is one of my all-time favorites, year 1. But if you want a more in-depth look at a lot of Batman titles, check out Gotham City Chronicles on our buddy Comic Book NYC's channel. He does, I don't think it's weekly, but
it's like once every 3 weeks they do a show on the channel is Comic Books NYC with the comic books, more than one. And they break down a different great Batman story every 3 weeks. They've done Hush, which is a great one. They've done Long Halloween. They've done Year 1. They've done Dark Knight Returns. But yeah,
I was on an episode where they did Gotham Central.
That's a good one too. For me though, I would say Long Halloween and Year 1 are my
those are my 2. If I'm going to tell someone to read a Batman story.
And year 1 is usually super cheap. You can probably even find it in the used trade paperbacks of a comic book shop because it's been so pumping out. They've been pumping it out a bunch.
So as far as my grade of Ten of Swords, the first half of the book I'd give like a 6. The last half of the book I'd give like an 8.5. I felt like the first 10 pages were like, I feel like you could have almost cut them out.
Maybe. I mean, I don't know. I feel like there's definitely the issue people are going to have is because if you're reading only maybe one title, like I know people that are just reading X-Men and they're getting very frustrated because the design of X-Men by Hickman is that it's not an ongoing series, that it's just a sampler almost. Mm-hmm. And you're getting, hey, what's going on with Wolverine over here this week? And next week's going to be a totally different story because we're checking in on Cyclops and on and on and on. And I think they needed to recap a little bit. And they certainly needed to give us we're spending so much time in Otherworld that I think they needed to give us time there. So I felt like it was functional, especially because there's a ton of characters coming at you in this issue, a bunch of new ones. In my opinion, like I think it's necessary. I didn't dislike any of it. I will say I had to read it twice. I read the whole thing yesterday, and then I came home and read it again today just to be like, okay, how am I feeling about this? Does it really hold up? What's going on here? And I liked it even better the second time.
Like once Apocalypse and all of them go back through the portal, that's when I feel like the issue was started to get very interesting for me.
Sure.
The whole like pages and pages of them at the round table discussing whether or not Krakoa.
I thought you were talking about the Citadel stuff at the very beginning.
I was talking about the Citadel stuff because that, as someone who has not kept up on the X books since Hoxpox, that none of that meant anything to me, and it didn't make it any more clear for me either.
Okay.
So I just was like, who are these characters? What is this place? How does this relate to Krakoa? And then once they came through the portal and said, then Apocalypse kind of explained what the portal was and what the two worlds were. Then I was like, okay, I get it. but still, what does it mean to me that these people are at war over there and all this stuff?
And I saw that, where was it? Todd Christian says he'd give it an 8 out of 10. Excalibur 12 was a great job leading into it. And so I think for me, like because I'd read X-Men 12 and a couple of others, like I had glimpses of Otherworld already, and the Summoner character who has been, I don't know where that issue is, but it's floating around here. He's been very important lately. So I felt like I had glimpses of it, but this was the first time that we really go there. And for me, I wanted to see it, and I wanted to see who these pivotal characters were within Otherworld. And I was really, really digging it. I had just enough leading into this that it made it worthwhile. But obviously, if a new reader is reading it for the first time and they are like, "Oh, I don't understand or care," then that's a problem.
Yeah, I feel like if you hadn't read House or Powers or any of the new X-Men stuff, and you're just like, oh, I haven't read X-Men in a while, it's a big event, let me try it out, you would have no idea what was going on. And like, you don't have to do that, because like he's building a world with this X-Men stuff, and so you can say like he is continuing to do that, and he doesn't have to recap every time he does something, but it just was, it was out there. But once they kind of got into where the story is going and kind of setting that up and talking about how they're going to have these kind of champions that each are going to have a sword, not metaphorically, but literally, it sounds like. And then at the end, it's revealed that the acronym SWORD is going to be involved.
Yeah.
That was all cool. And it's like, okay, this sounds interesting. I don't know if I'm going to invest in 22 issues.
Right. And I saw some comments in the chat about the various runs. Comics Explained talking about how he thought Excalibur was better read as a run and not as just like individual monthly issues. And Gray Matter Hulk feeling like maybe he would go back and reread it a little bit. And for me, like I have gone back lately knowing this event was coming and kind of reread certain issues of X-Men, certain issues of I reread the whole run of Marauders, and I'm impressed with how much setup is in these other books, and how I've never read New Mutants, never read a whole bunch of the other titles in the periphery, but I felt like I could get a very good sense just based on the handful of ones I have been reading. And I was very ready for this. But again, I spent last week writing an article all on what I needed to know to read this and get it.
Yeah.
And I don't think the average person's going to do that. So I totally respect the fact that there will be people coming in a little more raw and maybe getting frustrated.
At the same time, even though I just kind of criticized it for that, I have the utmost respect for Hickman doing that, because it's like he had a vision and he clearly knew where he wanted to go with this, because there's so much setup.
Right.
Like, it wasn't like he's just kind of writing this a la carte and saying, oh, well, maybe I could take it this way. And when he gets there, you say, well, you never set that up. Like, clearly he had this grander plan this whole time.
Yeah.
And to see that come to fruition and see him do this huge project is really cool. And like in a series of omnibuy, this might be super good and like, an all-time great story. But for someone trying to get into X-Men, this is not the starting point.
And Chaos and Comics, you're dropping some great knowledge bombs or thoughts about it. And this is an apocalypse story in a big way. I think he is going to be front and center all through it. Clearly, these are his horsemen of so for the uninitiated. The idea is you basically have this place that is like the center of all dimensions, and our X-Men are on the island of Krakoa and its sister island, which is a fragment of a larger piece of land that is connected through this dimensional gateway. And it seems like all of Apocalypse's original horsemen have created an army to try to destroy this portal and then come through to destroy our world as well. Apocalypse tries to at first, bridge the gap and connect, and then realizes that they're going to end up needing to make an army to solve the problem. And then ultimately they sort of, it's, I don't want to spoil the end, but basically they're setting up a sort of gladiatorial kind of thing.
Yeah, this is a good point. That new guy says, I get that we want to live by that could be someone's first comic mentor, but I think X-Men thing has gone a little beyond that. Yeah, I mean, there's so much history in X-Men, but I think at the same time, especially Marvel has really gone down this rabbit hole of like you needing to know everything about Marvel to enjoy a Marvel book.
Right.
And like for almost any of their titles.
Which is always my complaint about DC is the same way, where I feel like to really enjoy this, I got to know a ton of stuff. And it's hard to balance pleasing your hardcore fans versus pleasing and drawing in new fans and balancing that.
And I think my bigger problem with it is that it's fine if you're just running a title and you continue to build on that story. But when you keep releasing new number ones, but you pick up that number one because you say, you know what, I haven't read Spider-Man in a while. What's going on with Spider-Man? I'm just using that as an example.
Yeah.
And I'm picking up the new Spider-Man number one. Oh, but this is a direct continuation of the last issue of the previous series that I didn't read. So now I can't make heads or tails of what's going on here. What do you mean Peter Parker's Dr. Octopus? You know, like,
yeah,
it's if you're going to relaunch a series, if you're going to put a number one on something, it needs to be somewhat accessible. That's all, I think.
And I think I agree with Chaos that a new person could read this with some normal caveats. He's saying he hadn't read X-Men in 20 years and didn't know who half of these mutants are. And I will say I've been reading it the last year, and there are still mutants who pop up that I'm like, I don't know Monet. Like I've never met or learned about this mutant. But I don't think that that's needed to enjoy this. Whereas obviously the more you know, the more layers that you can get out of it. Watching Archangel and Apocalypse have their little little back and forth on one page, I really enjoyed because I enjoy the creation of Archangel and that character's story arc. So I feel like it you can add layers to it and get more out of it, but at the same time, on the surface, I liked this as a setup to a big event. I thought this was a good setup to a big event. Lots of exciting new characters, lots of exciting action that occurs. And I like Apocalypse, and I like seeing him as kind of the main character. Monet is Penance from Generation X. I don't even know that I know Penance because I never read Generation X. So
I do have a very serious question for you, though, about this book.
Go ahead.
There's one point where the guy who can talk to the tree is translating for him.
Right.
And one of the lines he says is, "But I am the land."
I saw that.
Is Krakoa a little bird?
Right. That is hilarious. I did notice that, and I did giggle. Yeah, so I enjoy the island in this. Abused me in a big way. That the fact that the island wants this to happen and is interested in it and won't let them just close the portal. I thought that was interesting.
It makes sense when they kind of explain the fact that they're basically siblings, for lack of a better term.
Yeah, sister islands. Yeah. So
they kind of want to be connected or reunited in some way. So
definitely.
That I don't know if it was so important to reveal it so quickly, but it made sense that they're like, oh yeah, I leave the portal open. This was a gift to me because now I'm kind of reconnected with my family.
Yeah. I also will say we haven't really talked about Pepe Larraz. I think he does a really good job.
Oh yeah, art's gorgeous in it.
The art is really, really great. There's some panels. I mean, again, I dig a good Apocalypse drawing and a good Apocalypse storyline, and there's just a ton of that in here. I mean, there's so many of these moody Apocalypse down-faced, cast in shadows, crazy light shining off of his dome. the pouty lips that you mentioned in our last show. Here's another one of those.
Yeah.
I think there's a bunch of that kind of stuff. Really great, really cool. And I dig the look of Otherworld as well. And
Apocalypse's children look awesome.
Right. The battlefields look like something out of Mordor.
Hell yeah.
Epic, but like sci-fi Mordor, you mentioned Apocalypse's original horsemen. There they are.
Really cool.
Yeah, and look at the tear coming down Apocalypse's face there. Beautiful. Apaka's lips, yeah. So I really dug it. I like how they bring in a ton of characters. For me, it was a throwback to the 90s and some of the events, whether it's Extinction Agenda, and I enjoyed that stuff when I was a kid. And it does
Age of Apocalypse,
right? And it has a little bit of that, but it's all Hickman's style. It does feel like a continuation of House of X, Powers of 10, a little bit to me, and especially in all the way he does the graphics and breaks up a story. So I'm on board. I'm looking forward to this. As somebody who's invested in a big way, I'm probably predisposed, I would say, to enjoy it. But I feel like there's a lot to really get out of this. And I'm excited to see I know a lot of people were like, I don't care about this Dungeons and Dragons, X-Men, whatever the hell this is. And for me, it's like, it was a cool way to like expand the universe, because they're not going to just fight to save Earth over and over again. This was like, no, they can get into some other universes. I like the way they're going to be bringing in these sort of gladiatorial weapons. It's not like lasers and blasters, but these swords, whether it's Black Knight's sword of Excalibur, some of these classic Marvel weapons get to come into play here. So I'm curious to kind of see how that goes. There's a lot of tarot card discussions here. We have the mutant tarot, but we also have this woman who is reading these tarot cards. Sorry, where is she? The Majestrix. And she's reading the tarot cards at the beginning. So Judgment, Four of Wands, Eight of Cups, the Hanged Man, and of course the Ten of Swords card. And the idea that apparently we're building towards some kind of battle where 10 mutants versus 10 of Apocalypse's horsemen's army, all battling with weapons to the death. That's going to be a big part of this going forward. Yeah,
so it's definitely like leading up to a huge action-packed finale that should be, if Pepe Larraz is drawing it again, it's going to look super nice.
Yeah,
it'll be very dynamic and exciting. But for me, because I'm not already reading any of these titles,
right?
I can't. I'm not gonna buy all 22 issues. I don't know what to read where I can just read those and get the main story.
Right.
Like if I just buy the 3 specials
to do that. So yeah,
so
I think it's almost
I'm just gonna have to,
or nothing.
I'm just gonna have to like read a recap, and if they put out trades or something, I'll maybe read them at that point. But
I'll try to let you know each week. Like this one was definitely worth it. Don't skip this.
Yeah.
And you in the chat, same thing. I'm going to be trying to read them all. So each Wednesday night, I will have read whatever ones they dropped that week, and I'll try to let you know which ones were the good ones or the filler ones. Because I don't read a lot of those. Hellions. I'm not reading that. I'm not reading Cable or Wolverine or any of those. So New Mutants. So I'm going to be trying them out during this run, and I'll try to let you know as best I can what I think.
Yeah, I mean that's about all I got to say about this book.
Yeah, me too. I'm going to post a little more in-depth review on the blog of X Friday. So if people want to chime in there and let me know what they think as well. Sounds like there's some people who didn't get it, some people who did and are into it. So a little bit of everything going on.
Did you read anything else this week?
Yeah, and I would say that was my read of the week, although I really did love another D&D sort of book, Last God by DC is always just freaking amazing. I always show off the art usually, so I mean it's like always usually I mix those. I'm that guy. I think the artwork in this series is just always freaking cool. I just dig it. There's a lot of depth to the artwork. I don't know if it's a digital artist or what, but it's just super cool. Really crazy. There's that guy getting his arm ripped off. And then he falls to the ground and the bloody arm just falls next to him. I dig it. So I do really dig this the style. It's really cool. The story's really great. If you like D&D fantasy, dark, bloody, violent fantasy, it would be something you'd enjoy. This is issue 9. I'm sure there's going to be a great hardcover trade at some point. This is my favorite DC book currently, now that Lois Lane is over. And then the rest of what I grabbed was just Marvel stuff that's on my pull list. So I grabbed Venom, I grabbed Daredevil, and I'm reading the J.J. Abrams, speaking of another Spider-Man #1. They finally dropped the 4th issue of the J.J. Spider-Man.
Yeah.
So I got all those. I will say X of Swords and Last God were the 2 best ones of the week for me. The rest of it, all of it was like a little slower, like the Daredevil was a slower issue. The Venom was it was a backstory heavy, like the origin of all these new Donny Cates characters. So for me, it was Last God and X of Swords.
10
of Swords.
Very confusing. Yeah, I only bought the 2 books this week, so that's all I got.
All right. Ryan is saying, I do hope the Hickman model becomes somewhat of a standard. Ooh, I think that's a hard standard to hold. Having somebody that's that creative, effective, such a good planner, and that can manage, because if there's 6, 7 X titles, he's managing all those creative teams.
Yeah, not everyone is Hickman. Yeah,
I can't imagine that there's people that can really do what he does,
or do it well at least. So yeah, that's all we got for this week, I think.
There you
go. Reading stuff next week. Who knows what?
There's an image #1 that I was going to look at and get a little more info on before I make my mind up on that. And then, of course, whatever X of Swords issue 2 comes along. I think it's Wolverine is the second one.
I haven't looked at the list at all yet, so we'll see. It'll be a nice surprise for everyone. What do you got coming up, John?
Let's see. Tomorrow I'm doing school stuff. I think Saturday is my next show. Bearded Comic Bro and I talking time travel movies. We're doing time travel comedies, time travel romances, and then our favorite is we always like to finish these shows off with, is it time travel? Like just a couple movies that we're like, hey, you could argue, is it time travel? Is it not time travel?
Hope Time Bandits was in there.
I'm a huge fan. And Bearded was making fun of me because I had my girls watch it for the first time like a week and a half ago. It's on Amazon or something. And he's like, you should have made a reaction video of your girls watching that film. And I said, it would basically be those gifs of somebody just going, like, what the am I watching? Yeah. That would have been their face for pretty much the whole thing.
And we got D&D on Sunday.
Yep.
Things are getting hot and heavy.
Yeah, man.
John has a magic ring that he doesn't want to attune to because he's scared of me.
I've read enough fantasy books to know that magic rings are not. What does Gandalf say, right? There are many magic rings, and none of them should be taken lightly.
So we'll see if he decides to this time. Otherwise, they're off in a field fighting some druids. Somebody's getting beat up. Big Will's unconscious, and yeah. Otherwise, we'll be back here next week on John's channel, and we got Greatest Comic Book Show Ever on the Comic Core at 10, right before the show. Otherwise, that's all I got.
That's it.
All right. Well, stay safe, wear a mask, and never turn your back on the ocean. Bye.